So here's another shit study featured on Medical News Today, or at least an article about the study. This kind of stuff bothers the shit out of me. All about what microdosing is and evidence from mostly small observational studies. Who knows what an observational study is exactly? But it can improve cognitive function and alleviate depression and anxiety. In agreement with this data, a large study now shows that individuals who microdose showed improved mood and greater decline in anxiety, depression, and stress over 1 month period than those who did not microdose. I mean, that sounds phenomenal, right? That sounds exciting. Oh, this large study. I mean, we must be very certain now, right? I think the reason I'm frustrated by the study, I make fun of so many studies because there's so many crappy studies out there that are just looking for headlines. I actually think that psilocybin, MDMA, DMT, I think these substances are really going to revolutionize psychiatric care. I think that I'm my intuition on the data that I've seen so far, I'm very much in favor of these substances becoming a standard part of psychiatric care, but then you come across a shit study like this that is reported in such a way as to make it even worse. A large study published in scientific reports shows that microdosing resulted in greater improvement than not microdosing. The largest longitudinal study to date. Great tagline there. One of the few pieces of research to include a control group. This statement bothers the fuck out of me, because they did not include a control group. They used as a quote unquote control group, people who did not do anything. Right? There is no placebo control. It was just compared to not doing anything. And there is no way to control for the fact that people who actively go out to pursue microdosing are much more likely to have a positive expectation and experience a placebo effect, because obviously they believe in the benefits of microdosing. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. So this is a quote-unquote study built to merely show the placebo effect. We found psilocybin microdosing to be associated with improvements, and so on and so forth, from the author's study. And okay, so notice what was put in the box, right? Is we found that it was associated with these changes. And then outside the box, it says, well, we hope that our findings will help facilitate the development of more rigorously designed clinical trials. This kind of reporting, right? They didn't say anything wrong. They didn't say anything false. This is what the study co-author said. But you can contain falsity by the way you choose to present information. And this is absolutely the idea of emphasizing something that sounds great and then hiding down, actually we recognize that we had a shit study and we didn't actually show anything, we didn't prove anything. We actually just kind of publish something because we need to publish to keep our, grant money or whatever bullshit. And we hope that our findings will help facilitate actual studies, something that might actually be meaningful. What is microdosing? Yada, yada. This is interesting. On a side note, a significant number of participants in a placebo-controlled microdosing study were able to recognize the effects of psilocybin during the study. That's an interesting problem, because if the side effects are sufficiently prominent, or the effects are sufficiently prominent, that it unblinds the trial and people have a positive perception of psilocybin, well, you're going to have trouble filtering out the placebo effect. That's an interesting challenge of psilocybin studies. And again, studies suggest that individuals tend to have strong expectations of positive effects. So again, built up expectation for placebo effects. Naturalistic design, which basically means no control, just horseshit. Talking about the fact that they combine it with lion's mane. By the way, this is also a questionnaire-based study. Those have been shown to not be reliable. People's opinion of themselves and their behaviors is not always a good reflection. However, they did include assessments for anxiety, depression, and stress. That's a bit more reliable. The assessments are usually standardized questions that are accepted in the psychiatric literature. Female microdosers showed larger reductions in depressive symptoms than males. Females also have greater incidence of depression, right? Older microdosers showed larger improvements in psychomotor tests, but not cognitive function. I find that unsurprising for a placebo effect, because if women happen to be more concerned with depression and they have a positive expectation, then maybe they'll report more improvement in their depression. If older people are more concerned with their functionality, their psychomotor functionality, then maybe they'll report that. I don't know. Maybe you would expect older people to be concerned with cognitive function, although at a cutoff of 55 years, I'm not sure about our definition of older there, so I'm not sure. Maybe they were more concerned about decreases in agility than decreases in cognitive function, given the relatively young definition of older participants. But you would expect some concern about cognitive function, I think, even at that age, so maybe there is something beyond placebo there. Again, because there's no actual trial here, we're now reading into data. And this actually, so I'm engaging even in the process right now that I try to counsel people not to engage in. This is a shit study. It showed nothing. We should not try and extrapolate anything from it. And yet our minds naturally try to say, well, what could we read into the data between the lines and upside down? And maybe if we hold it up in the sun and squint at it, we'll learn something. It's just shit. And now, at the very bottom, the major weakness of this study is the lack of a placebo control. Therefore, it is unclear whether the source of these improvements is positive expectancy or the pharmacological action of microdosing. So, at the bottom of the fucking article, there is the admission that we have shown nothing, we have published shit, we're just bullshitting, and there's no point to what we're saying. And this is on something I believe in, right? This is something I think I am very bullish on an intuitive level on psilocybin therapy. I don't know about microdosing. I think the data supports more of the heroic dosing and psilocybin-guided therapy, that kind of stuff. But who knows? I think it's possible. But this study does not show that. This study does not contribute to that. This study contributes exactly nothing because it's horseshit. And so I get very frustrated with these. The fact that these studies get published at all is very frustrating to me. And then the way they're reported is even more frustrating.